Hi. Whatever happens, happens for good. And this particular philosophy is getting concretized in my head as time moves by. As I'm getting older and the universe is moving where it has to, it just simply plays out that whatever happens, happens for good. Until a few days back, everyone was more or less everyone was happy that farmers bill has been introduced, which has tried to streamline things which should have been streamlined or worked upon um, many years before, but better late than never. Something is happening which is good, something at the macro level is happening which is good, because we are so used to seeing things in a standstill state that to see things move was a delight, was a treat, until the farmers' protest started happening. And then you were wondering what is it about, and something so concrete came out of it. Even though I must say that if you try to delve things on the social media platform, they are such angry people, they abuse you, but then they don't need to. They've got such a valid demand, because if you research into things, you'll find that the minimum support price is not uniform. It is for certain crops, and it is different in value. For example, it is one of the highest for the pulses, because India was forced to import pulses in large quantities around 2017, because we did not have a good production. So what it did, it increased the minimum support price of pulses or lentils, however you call it. So its production grew because the farmers saw profits in growing pulses. And the second crop is kharif, which includes jawar, millets, rice. Now these are the crops that require strong intensified irrigation. Now for irrigation you need to have water, right? The infrastructure of canals and irrigation tools should be well placed, should have a good network. One must have a good network for it, and it's not there. So if you want to earn more price on a certain crop as a farmer, all those things that are required to grow a certain crop aren't there. Like for pulses, it doesn't consume much water, but it is vulnerable to pests and insects, so you've got to keep them protected. However, there are other as I just said, there are other crops that can fetch farmers more money, but those particular crops require a good infrastructure. They are vulnerable to sustainability. They have sustainability issues as well, as in they rot easily. So this was one problem, the infrastructure, the incomplete infrastructure. So ideally, while this food bill was introduced, parallel efforts should have been made to improve the infrastructure, the dismal infrastructure that most of our rural regions have. Here in India, we have a dismal rural infrastructure that should have been upgraded as well. There should have been parallel efforts, as I just said. Second thing is, it does not exactly prove to be very remunerative for the farmers. Even the MSPs don't prove to be very remunerative, because it's based on a formula that just that gives you 50% more than the amount that you have invested in the inputs, you have invested in the rent. But it doesn't take into account a very important factor, demand. Neither does it include the domestic demand, nor does it include the international demand for the crops, nor does it factor in the sustainability of a particular crop. So this particular the formula for coming up the formula to come up with a certain amount of MSP, that has to be revised, the infrastructure has to be built up. Otherwise MSP is an eyewash. It's no good. Now, why did I say that whatever happens happens for good? Because even though you may find it irritating that why such protests should happen in the first place, but this has come out, this has revealed the cracks in the mosaic that was presented to us a few weeks, a couple of months back in form of Farmers' Bill. And I don't understand till date why is our country so averse to taking huge infrastructural projects like excuse me. Since last year I've been noticing the finance minister talking in an averse way towards spending. It is a time-tested solution. If you can give relief packages, you are waiting basically for things to go from dirty to dirtier. So why not stitch in time saves 9? Why not for once undertake huge infrastructural projects, like really upping the game, really building the road network, the highway network, the storage, which is the most important factor. There's so much. If you just put in the Google the amount of food wastage in our country is around 40%, and the kind of pictures that will come up, that will pop out, you will feel that how much storages and warehouses are required. This was first point. The second point is, what do you think? India is a developing country? No, actually US denied its preferential treatment to India last year, because Trump thought that India is a very rich country and doesn't require the kind of preference that it gets in terms of trade. There is a generalized preference policy for developing countries, not like most favored nations, because for most favored nation, if you are having certain discounts for a certain country, then you have to have the same discounts for all the countries that are members of the WTO, that's World Trade Organization. It can't be you can't have this partial maneuvering of trade, the tariff, allowing some kind of free trade between only a few countries. But what the developed countries can do, they can give preferential treatment in terms of trade to developing countries. Now, usually it happens, in fact, according to the rule book, if you are giving some preferential treatment to a developing country, you shouldn't be expecting anything back from them. It's not on a reciprocal basis. But last year, as Trump, the former president of USA, he said that India is a rich country and doesn't require our preferential treatment. Not just that, he went to the WTO and asked them to change India's status from developing to developed, because the core issue was that India wasn't accepting all the a decided amount of imports from US, because that would have been too much competition for the home grown manufacturers. Now US is within its rights to cancel all kind of preferential treatment, nor can India imagine that it'll keep on reaping the benefits of being a developing country, even though it is a part of G20 nation. G20. um, the great economies congregation. However, it's quite a riddle. uh, when you come to India, you have people who are very very rich, and the most part of the country is really poor. So its GDP is not the right picture to assess its economy. um, Moreover, when you find what does India lose in this proposition, of course it loses on the opportunity to export to US, which is our biggest trade partner. But one thing that would come forth is that India relied big time on US for medical equipments, but still that need wasn't as much, that dependence was not as much as we are dependent on China. Would you believe that we even import the thermometer, the cotton wool that's used for medical purpose from China? 70% of it, it's on the website. This is I or any layman would only have that source, right? 70. So even if it is not 70, it's, even if the range is 60 to 70%, it's very very bad. Now while you find all these information, you also find that no, I made a mistake. It India imports 11% of its medical equipments from, it's written, you'll also find on the Google, 11% of its equipments from China, and 70% of agriculture equipments. US and Netherlands, one of the highest producers, the best growth rate in agriculture they have, and that's because they have an excellent agriculture technology. So they give high subsidies to their farmers, so that they continue to be farmers, they continue to farm, continue to do farming, to and for that they pay heavy subsidies. So what happens, the food prices go down, so that they don't need the costlier imports, agriculture imports from a developing nation slash lower income nation. This is our new nomenclature, India's new nomenclature by WTO, I guess it is, or World Bank. Lower income country, that's what we are. So my point was that these are the people, the developed nations, especially US, they do not give any discount to developing nation when it comes to selling their agricultural technology. They also subsidize they gave a lot of subsidies to their farmers. So imagining for a developing country to imagine that it'll find market in developed nation for its agriculture product, those chances are not very high. Coming back to how much we depend on China, 70% of agriculture technology we buy, equipments we buy from China. Now I've been talking about it, and anyone who skims through economic books and all those statistics will be flabbergasted by how low is our research and development capacity. So just like green revolution in 1960s and Operation Flood, the white revolution for milk, we need a technology revolution in India, at least for some time, so that things change. I don't know why is it not on the radar of the people in power. It should be. We are completely losing ground because we are not inventing things, we are not innovating things. We are just following the footsteps of others, which may be good, may be bad according to the circumstances, but we are not creating anything new. We need to create. This is so important. So my point is, if I were to summarize this whole video, that it's good that the farmers are protesting. Something good will come out of it. Though they are going through a very rough time, protesting in bitter cold in corona times, I would pray that something really lucrative comes out of this. They should refrain from getting too temperamental, because they're fighting a very relevant fight. So just not let their temper get better of them. And second is that we in India require a technology revolution. Yeah, that's it. Bye bye.